Welcome back to Global War 1939 Ultra. I just want to give you a breakdown of Germany's first turn. We haven't gone ahead and done anything else with the other countries. We're going to do that shortly. But I just want to give you the breakdown of Germany's first turn because it's probably, out of all the turn sequences in the game, out of all the rounds, this one's probably the most complicated and the most confusing. So I just want to give you an idea of what I do, and hopefully that will help you in your games. So before we get started, unlike the last game where we made a couple changes to the setups, we're just going with the straight, out of the box setup that comes with this game. So no house rules, no changes to the setup. So we're just going to do a straight Ultra game. So for Germany's first turn, like I said, they get two impulses. So basically they move, attack, have a buy, place that purchase, and then move and attack again, and then having two non-combat moves in both sequences. So at the start of the game, what we're going to do, we declared war on France, Holland, Denmark, Norway, Poland, and Yugoslavia. So in order to maximize the resources that we have, we're pretty much going to use everything twice, except for maybe one or two pieces. But for the most part, everything gets moved twice. So for our purchase, we started with $52. And what we've opted to go ahead and do is to buy 6 medium tanks, 2 artillery, and 2 mechanized. It comes to exactly 52, and we're placing all 10 units in Western Germany, which we're allowed because of the major complex, and that'll give us the best movement out of the territories that we want to capture. All right, so for now, the way I break down the battles and the units that I need per battle, we want to enter a territory and have the least amount of combat rounds possible to declare victory. And we want to do that for a couple reasons. The biggest is we want to maintain the resources that we do have. So the more rounds of combat that we have, then the more likely that the Allied, like the French, the Polish, have a chance to damage the German units, and then we have less to use on the second impulse and less to do on round 2, 3, so on. And that's more we have to rebuy that we really don't want to, because we want to have as many units on the map as possible. So the way I break down what I need, I think of low luck. Now, of course, we're not using low luck to determine the outcome of the battles, because I think low luck makes the games really boring and very predictable. At least with the die rolls, you could get really lucky, really bad rolls. So there's some makes the game more interesting when you roll it out. But I do use low luck and determine what I should expect on the opening round of combat. So, and of course, just like the normal low luck you use in A&A 40, you divide it by 6. In this one, we're divided by 12. So for the first battle into Holland, what we're going to go in with is 2 infantry, 3 mechs, and a veteran fighter. That gives us a combat power of 17. So we should expect at least 1 hit on the opening round, with a possibility of getting 2. This is what we should expect. Now, of course, you can hit all 6 units, roll all 1s, but the likelihood is, on the average, you're going to get 1, possibly 2 hits. Now, of course, Holland starts with 4 units, 3 infantry, and an artillery, so you should expect 2 rounds of combat. After that battle was rolled out, we just lost 2 infantry, leaving us with 3 mechs and a veteran fighter. Now, in the Reims, We went with a little more force because the French do have quite a sizable defense in range. So we went in with 6 infantry, 2 cavalry, 2 light tanks, 1 medium tank, 2 medium bombers, 2 veteran fighters, and 3 tacticals. Now, when it comes to tacticals and tanks, you want to pair them up as much as possible 1-to-1 because they'll give your armor a boost on combat. So that gives us a combat power of 78. So we should expect at least 6, possibility of a 7th hit on the opening round. So again, we should expect 2 rounds of combat and then done. So with our actual losses after it was rolled out, we lost 2 cavalry and 1 infantry. So we fared pretty well there. I think that was above average in losses. I would probably expect, I was thinking we'd suffer, or the Germans would suffer 5 losses total. But we got away pretty lucky there. In Oslo, we utilized both of our transports. Now, before we can offload anything, the British do have a destroyer here, and the Danes do have a destroyer and a sub. So we had to clear that out first. And basically, we brought our entire navy in here. So we had a couple ships here, brought our entire navy in there, except for the subs that are in the Atlantic, of course. So with all the subs and the destroyers engaged in the sea battle, and then the subsequent landing was supported by the cruiser and battleship. So for that, we had a combat power of 14. That's not including the ships, that's just the troops on the ground. So we went in with 2 infantry, an artillery, and a paratrooper. Combat power of 14, giving us a hit of at least 1 with an expected hit of 1 with a possibility of 2 hits, where they only have 1 infantry. And we suffered 0 losses, which is great because they do have a fort. So we got away lucky. And now for the next battle, we went into West Poland. Again, we went in with a sizable force because the surviving of West Poland needs to venture on into Warsaw. So we went with 5 infantry, 1 artillery, 4 mechs, 3 medium tanks, 2 tactical bombers, 2 veteran fighters. That gives us an attack power of 70, expected hits 5, with a possibility of 6. Now this is where this battle, West Poland, was our heaviest losses. We lost 5 infantry, 1 mech. So we lost 6 units there, which was not good. So that concluded the Impulse 1 attacks. So with our non-combat, all the combat planes, so the bombers, the tacticals, and the fighters, they all landed in West Germany. 1 medium, and then we did our non-combat moves. So we moved 1 medium tank to Austria from Stettin. And this will set up our attack into Yugoslavia. 2 infantry to Australia from Czechoslovakia. And then we do have a train that we transported 3 infantry to Austria from Berlin. And the remaining 3 infantry in Berlin moved into West Germany. As for the Navy, the subs that are here attacked the Canadian fleet, and the 4 subs here moved down to this sea zone on Impulse 1. And then, of course, like I stated before, the 10 units that we purchased, 2 mechs, 2 artillery, 6 tanks, medium tanks, went into West Germany. All right, for Impulse 2, this is where we're going to start attacking the capitals. So into Paris, we entered with 5 infantry, 1 artillery, 3 mechs, and 7 medium tanks. Now, On Impulse 2, it's a little more tricky because it's not a guarantee. Like Impulse 1, the units we start the game with, we know we're starting with them, so we know what to bring where. Impulse 2, the attacks into Paris and Warsaw, Yugoslavia, it may vary a little bit depending on our losses from the first Impulse. So again, 5 infantry, 1 artillery, 3 mechs, 7 medium tanks, giving us combat power 60, which our expected hits should be 5. So again, that battle didn't go quite so well for the Germans. They lost everything except for the 7 techs and 1 mech. So they lost 5 infantry, an artillery, and 2 mechs in that battle. So that was more than what I was expecting. I expected the infantry to be lost, at least saving myself the mechs and the artillery, but die rolls, I guess. Into Normandy, we went in with 2 light tanks and a mech, and we took out that lone infantry. Now, we want to do that. If you set this up properly, you can get 3 bonuses. You can get the Norway bonus, the bonus you get from Russia, which you're guaranteed to get anyways. And then you take this territory. You're going to take these regardless, right? You're going to take these anyways. Try to take this one. And then save 1 mech in Reims for the non-combat. Because if this goes Vichy, then you can, on the non-combat move, you can roll down the mech to get your 3rd bonus. That didn't work out for us because Bordeaux went free French. But if it did, so we'll have to take that next turn. We'll get the bonus on round 2, but there is a possibility to get all 3 bonuses after the first round. Depends on how the territories roll out. Excuse me. So after the Normandy power, that gave us a combat power of 10. So your expected hits is probably 1, but it is lower than the 12. And we suffered no losses. Into Warsaw, we went in with 1 artillery, 3 mechs, and 3 medium tanks. We're not going to take any air power into Paris or Warsaw because of that AA gun, or they both got AA guns, and don't want to deal with that. So into Warsaw, our attack power was 28, giving us an expected hit count of 2 with a possibility of 3. They only have 3 units there, so those are pretty good odds that you'll end that in 1 round of combat. And our losses were 2 mechanized, opting to save the artillery. Into Denmark, we went in with 2 infantry and an artillery. We lost 1 infantry. They had a combat power of 8, so again, lower. Like, you're not guaranteed to get 1 hit, but with 3 dice, it's a good possibility, right? Yeah, so we suffered 1 infantry loss in that battle. Up in Narvak, so we walked up our paratrooper, an artillery, and an infantry, had 0 losses. That's even a better odds than the Denmark battle of a power of 9. And we suffered no losses. And then probably the trickiest battle to enter into, and you're heavily relying on your Air Force, is the Yugoslavian battle. So on Impulse 1, we saved units not to engage in combat. We just moved them in the non-combat phase. So we went in with 6 infantry, 1 medium tank, 5 attack bombers, and 5 veteran fighters. Now, they do have an AA gun there. So we lost 2 tacticals due to AA fire because they rolled 10 dice. And during the battle, we just lost 4 infantry. Well, not just, but that's. I was hoping for 2, expecting 3, but we ended up with 4 losses. As for the naval, Now, on Impulse 1, I always clear the sea zone so I can make landings into Norway. The second Impulse, I always take out this British fleet. It does have aircraft carrier and transport, so we want to sink as many transports as possible in order to, so the Commonwealth don't get their 8 transport bonus. On round 1, 2, it's very easy for them because usually they probably in the first round 6 transports, something like that. So the Canada needs to buy 1, UK needs to buy 1, and then you're back at 8, right? So then that was the 2 combat rounds. Non-combat, we did our buy, and we just need to do our non-combat in Impulse 2. Now, Impulse 1, we did activate Hungary. Impulse 2, we're going to activate Romania. Impulse 2, we're going to activate Finland. Yes, now, so a lot of people like to activate Finland right away, but I like to utilize the second transport in Norway to get more units there, because we are doing 2 battles and 5 units max. We're not bringing any of our Air Force up there, so we want to have as much firepower as possible. So going with only 3 units because of only using 1 transport, it seems very risky to me. So I'd rather a guarantee capture. So that's why I activate Finland on the second Impulse. So we did all the French rolling for the territories and the ships before we finish off the non-combat round. So just skipping the French for a second, the non-combat, like I said, we transported 1 infantry from West Germany to Finland, infantry from Hungary into Romania, and all the TAC fighters, all the tactical bombers and the fighters from the Yugoslavian battle go into Austria, and the 2 medium bombers that engaged in this battle up here, sorry, I didn't mention, the only planes we brought up there were the bombers, and they all landed in West Germany, so they're just on the card. And the air transport we used to transport our paratrooper is also in West Germany. The air transport is not used or not needed for the second round or the second Impulse. It's vital for the first Impulse. So with the French rolling, after we set up Vichy France, for the ships, the Vichy French ended up with a battleship, a cruiser, and a destroyer. The British, or the Free French, I just converted them over to UK sculpts, as I only have 1 French color. My shipment from HBG for more French units of a different color hasn't come in yet. So they picked up a cruiser, a sub, and 2 transports. So the transport that we sunk up there, and we did sink the 2 from Canada, didn't really matter because they got two more back. The Germans didn't fare as well as the last game. Last game they did really well. This game we ended up with a cruiser, sub, 2 destroyers, and everything else was sunk. So the entirety of the Norwegian fleet was sunk, and the rest of the French ships. As for the land territories, Vichy France picked up this territory and this one. To me, this one's the most important. So as long as that goes Vichy for the Germans, then the rest, to me, doesn't really matter. This is the die roll that I worry about the most. So Bordeaux, these 3 money territories went Free French, and these 2 also went Free French. So the Japanese will clean this up. It's just easier if these go Vichy for the Japanese, because then they just need to land a guy there. They don't need to actually fight for it. But that's not really a big deal. And the rest of the territories went Free French as well. All right, so that's it for that. The Atlantic submarines, Impulse 1, they do a non-combat move down to Sea Zone 34. And then Impulse 2, they attack the fleet, the British fleet that's here in 35. Now, we did utilize the Grash Bay from down here. We move it up and then attack. Some people like to bring it over here to take out take a swing at it, but the odds of one cruiser against two destroyers, yes, two are rolling out of 4, one's rolling out of 6, but you get 2 dice, and the third dice for this guy. So I don't like this odds. I'd much rather utilize that cruiser up here in this battle. And then the subs that are here at the start of the game took out the Canadian fleet. And, apologize. On the second impulse, I usually put them there. You can split them up and take away $3 from Canada and 3 from the UK. But the more they're split up, the easier it is. However, more likely, they probably won't even attack this entire fleet. Very well go attack that, sink this, and then that'll make the UK, America landings a lot easier. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So that's pretty much it for the strategy that I normally go with. And then after this, from this point onward, then my main focus, like Greece, as a German player, I don't worry about Greece at all. I leave that to the Italians. So in my mind, the Italians' job is Greece and Cairo. This is their job and this territory here. So if Italy can, throughout the course of the game, and I really don't care how long it takes them, but my priority for Italy is always this territory, Greece, these 2 islands, and Cairo. If that's all they do in the game, then I'm happy with their performance. But early game, Greece, this should go pretty early as well, but late game, mid-late game, then they really need to take Cairo. If they don't, it puts Italy in a tight jam. They don't really get the economy rolling that they should. It's harder for them to activate Iraq. And then there's a possibility of Turkey joining the Allies. So yeah, Cairo, Greece, this territory, Italy's done. For the rest of Germany's strategy, is going to be much like the last game that I played. Whatever survives in Paris from this point on, so turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5. And what I do as what's ever left over in Paris starts moving towards Germany, I'm going to drop 13 units here. So if you go with the 2 infantry instead of the medium tank for Romania, you can drop 13 units here a turn. And so I just keep dropping as much as I can, get in there. Infantry, artillery, armor. But usually I produce the armor in Berlin and just drive it down, as we do now have 4 turns to get ready. So if you build your armor a little further away to leave room for your infantry to get built here, then they'll all end up here at the same time, right? But if you're building your infantry here, obviously it takes longer to march down, right? And then, of course, we're going to, any surviving thing in Warsaw, I usually leave that alone. I usually don't touch that, and that'll be my central attacking force. I normally opt for a southern because it's easier to get units here, a bigger build up here, much easier than in the middle, especially up north. So this is more of a distractionary force, as the main assault always comes from here. And Russia, all their money territories are further south than up north, right? So that's the German turn for the first 2 impulses, and that's a look into what I expect from the Germans, or what I plan on doing as I play Germany for the first little bit. So until turn 5, I don't really expect any more battles from the Germans. It's just going to be a build-up, 4 turns, and then a major assault into Russia. Now, the Russians could also roll extremely well. They can roll 24 twice. Then they're in the game by round 3. In a situation like that, that would not go well for the Axis. They would find themselves in a lot of trouble because they want to keep Russia out of the war as much as possible to allow them time to build up a force strong enough that the Russians can't deal with. And with the Finns, we're going to keep purchasing an infantry there as long as possible. But the Finnish more likely will fall due to the Russians. The Russians are allowed to attack Finland. They're allowed to attack East Poland and the Baltic states. So the Russians do want to take this out because they'll get a bonus, not just the $3 from the territory, but they'll also get a $5 bonus. So that can help them out quite a bit, especially if they're rolling low. Like if they end up rolling a tens a few times, they're not going to get a lot of units on the ground. All right, thank you for watching, and if you see anything that you do differently, things that I did that you don't like, please put it in the comments and go from there. All right, thank you very much, and have a great day.